welcome back, guys, to the Free Rotation podcast. I hope you've had a great time not listening to us because we're back and you can listen to us again. Wahoo! Anyways, today I am... What?
She makes no sense ever.
I don't know why Waluigi's stuck off in here.
Yeah.
We're talking about aliens. I'm joined today by Chris.
Hola.
And our producer, Angie.
Hello.
And as I stated, we're talking about aliens because you guys know we don't talk about aliens a lot. So therefore, we felt like this was a necessary episode to talk about aliens. Because, I don't know if y'all know this, but apparently there's been a lot of weirdly unidentified objects flying through U.S. airspace and in other countries too, ? So now that's what we're going to talk about. So guys, who wants to start?
So, I guess that's me.
That's you. I just literally looked at you.
So basically today we're going to talk about the UFOs or UAPs, whichever you want to call them, that have been spotted in North America and China and apparently the Maldives and France and South America here in the past, 2 or 3 weeks. And it's weird because it's kind of died off after that first week.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's actually died off or if because the government hasn't said anything after that first week, basically once they shot some things down, whether no one has any information or...
I think the problem has become that I think legitimately the beginning of this started because people were photographing this weird balloon just flying through the air and they're like, what the fuck is that? So the government had to come out and say something about it.
So my thing is with the Chinese spy balloon or whatever they wanted to call it, they never at any point didn't say it wasn't a balloon.
Right.
Flat out from the jump, yeah, it's a fucking balloon.
Yeah.
We know what this is.
Yeah.
They could have done that for the other objects and no one would have had any questions.
Yeah.
However, they didn't.
No, they've been calling them unidentified objects.
So, for the original one that showed up over Alaska, the story is basically after the spy balloon, NORAD jumped up their radar capabilities, and these things started showing up. The issue with that is the one over Alaska was spotted originally by, a guy driving a Cessna, and he reported it. A guy flying a Cessna, and he reported it. And the original story was whatever it was kept blocking the fighter jets' radar capabilities. So I don't know what kind of weather balloon blocks radar.
Yeah.
Consistently, it's just a weird. And then they shot it down over supposedly the frozen water, which is, if you know Alaska in the winter, it's just an ice sheet.
Yeah.
The oceans are just thick ice. Then they said they had trouble recovering it because they couldn't find it. I'm going to guess you could find this thing you shot down.
Right. First they said it was the weather keeping them out.
Yeah.
And then it was, we just can't find it now. Polar bear dug it.
And then, there were people in the area, where they supposedly shot it down that were, filming the weather. And it was just it's a sunny day. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, and considering that we have one of the most technologically advanced radar systems in the world, I think it is the most...
Also satellites.
Yeah, and satellites. You don't think that at any
Who
point...
can see up your nose to a booger
Yeah.
from space.
So I want you to imagine, you can Google Earth your house at any point you want. You think they can't find a satellite when they know within 10 miles where they shot it down? Mm-hmm. There's no way they can't find this thing.
Yeah. So my understanding is since I think it was early February, it's been the month of just UFO bullshit.
Yep.
Since early February, they've shot down at least 4 different unidentified objects, and I don't think it counts the Chinese spy balloon.
No, we knew what that was.
Yeah.
From the jump, they had no problem being there's a spy balloon. They're it's over California. We're just going to let it float across and then shoot it down.
Yeah, because it seemed like it lost steering. And even China was like, hey, you sent them first.
Yeah, that
Which
was a
no
big
real
thing still
denial
going
to
on
it.
there. Yeah, they're still talking about you guys said it first. We know what I mind.
I don't even have a problem with that idea. I think we have a lot of, I will say, meteorological balloons.
Yeah.
Just gathering information. If they lose whatever little bit of battery or power they have, they're free to the winds.
Yeah.
Wherever the Lord takes them is where they go. So I don't think, if you're worried about Chinese spy balloons, I'm not worried about China. If their big thing to look at us is a balloon, I think we're good.
Yeah.
They own satellites that are in the air.
They went to Party City and bought a balloon. And was like, this will be fun.
I'm not worried about spy balloons. It's just not it's not a concern to me. However, these other things that are not balloons that they're shooting down are intriguing. And I don't know if they're alien, don't know if they're something else. I tend to believe they are extraterrestrial, but I don't know what's going on.
So that's where, like, I think it's interesting because a lot of the articles right now for looking up anything about 2023 UFOs, because it's really hard to, like, denote exactly what you're looking up because there's just been so many random reports, is like, sorry, UFO enthusiasts, the government says it's not aliens. And it's like, okay, well, what is it then? Like, I mean, it was very, very clear from the start about the Chinese spy balloon. And now they're like, it's unidentified objects that are in the air. We don't think it's extraterrestrials, but we can't identify it. So I know that there's a lot of technology that exists in other countries and all that different stuff. It just feels like doth thou protest too much kind of thing. And now that people, you know, in the 60s when you had Roswell and all, or the 40s and 50s and 60s when you had Roswell and all these different things, you didn't have the capacity for like the regular old dumbass that lives in like Podunk, Georgia to record things. But now what we have are people who are able to like actually take pictures and actually report on it without it being going through like a news media outsource. So I guess that's where I think it's interesting because they don't say what it is. And I mean, they said they're not going to declassify what exactly it is, but it is not aliens. But it's like, they said Martians, but it's like, okay, well, Martians denote Mars.
Yeah, is it Venusian?
Yeah, like, are you like just saying Martian? Nobody says Martians anymore. Are you just saying it's not extraterrestrials, or are you just trying to like change it around? So it's just interesting that this has been like the big news story.
Well, the thing is, and when they came out and said I guess it was Biden that came out and said that it was not a nation state that was doing this. It was either a company or they thought it was probably just a private individual. My issue with that is these things were showing up all across the U.S. in the span of 2 days. That's
like an entire weekend. It was just one after the other.
It was Alaska, Montana, off the coast of North Carolina. They saw him down in Louisiana. Like, that dude's pretty agile with unidentified objects, putting him in the sky that no one apparently sees. It's just no way.
And then when you combine that with the unique radio signals that are repeating coming from, space, it's like...
Well, that, and I look at it like if it was a company, if you're going to get, and most companies are going to try to do things the right way. If you're going to have an object that you put in the sky, you have to get FAA permission.
Yeah. That's the other thing is they're in federal airspace airspace in general. So a lot of, if you don't know this most of the time, like, and I don't think people do realize this, that there is a restricted airspace that it's mostly for flight paths for regular commercial airlines.
Even with drones, you have to get an FAA license if they go higher than, I think it's like 75 feet.
Yeah.
I had to get an FAA license for just a $100 drone back at Christmas.
So you can't, because these drones technically are not supposed to be able to fly high enough to hit it. It's only in the circumstance like maybe the battery dies and it gets flown off into wherever. But at least if something happens, they can register it back to, Angie had a drone. Mm-hmm. It's not something from China that's trying to spy on us.
To be fair, for me, it's this shit crashed into a car.
Yeah, Angie's quadcopter caused a 3-car pileup.
Exactly.
But these objects are either flying in like restricted airspace or above restricted airspace, which is really difficult to do if you don't have technology that can do that.
40,000 to 80,000 feet.
Yeah.
And
their batteries don't last long.
Well, not only that, but they didn't seem to have any means of propulsion that was viewable, either thermally or visually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The balloon had propulsion. It had a little motor on it and a battery and a fan. Like, they kind of understand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a balloon.
I just pictured a little, like, one of those, like, little, like, camping fans, and it's just...
It probably really is. I mean, it probably isn't... I mean, it's probably a little bit bigger than, like, a computer fan. So,
yeah.
Because, again, it's a weather balloon. It's designed to go where the wind takes it.
Yeah.
You can fight it a little bit.
Where the wind goes.
Sorry, please don't DMCA us.
But yeah, it's these things are, it's different. Their shape is different. They tend to the 4 that have been shot down were all cylindrical. There are pictures online, and they're not official, of the one they shot down over Alaska supposedly, and it looks kind of like a 1950s Airstream trailer. Mm-hmm. That's just been wrecked. Like, It's been destroyed. Like, something hit it hard, and it's just on the ground.
Well, I think we were talking about it in Discord a little bit. Like, when we see, or somebody, I can't remember who said it, was like, well, when we see one that's the size of a bus, that's what I'm interested. Maybe.
Well, they are. They're the size of like 3 buses.
Yeah.
Or, some of them. Apparently, one of them was the size of like a small car.
Right.
Which is still pretty big in the air.
I'm going to say, like, think about, like, we all have personal vehicles and then 18-wheelers. Maybe the aliens are just using, like, their own personal vehicles to toot around or whatever. You know, it's possible.
Bob, let's take a drive and go look at those humans.
Bob, let's play a little bit of Spotify music and take a drive.
The way I look at it is it's more, and it's more nefarious if they are nefarious, it's more of a probing expedition.
Yeah.
You send some shit in to see how they respond and with what weaponry they respond with.
Right.
And that way you know how to, you know what
It's
you're
their
in
version
for.
of drones.
Yeah,
it's their drones.
You know what you're in for.
Yeah.
Versus going in blind and being like, hey, these monkeys are in the air. What are they doing? Oh, there's a Sidewinder torpedo.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what-
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that it is just something that's a domestic thing. Because, I mean, we all know in 2020, in the midst of COVID, of course, they declassified that there are objects that the U.S. government cannot explain. They have and cannot explain where it came from.
They were made by people not from here, or made by beings not from here. Is
Right.
the official whatever. What the fuck does that mean, homie?
Yeah.
From where?
Yeah. What, are you talking about, like, some space station that we don't know about that some, you know, secret society
Yeah,
has?
we get what you're putting out.
Yeah, you can be honest
You're,
about
you're phrasing it. We see through
Well,
that.
they're trying to, like, gently ease it in. The problem is, if there is an invasion,
Just real dry.
they're going to
Just
dry
right
it in.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
Yeah.
no lube or anything. It's just right into the butthole.
and I'll be honest, like, I am, like, at night, I'm keeping track of, like, the local police scanners and stuff. Because if I hear shit on the ground, we're moving.
Yeah.
Like, me and my wife have a bug out bag. We have our guns. We have food. We are going to be gone. And
I did, and I will say it wasn't really mostly for the alien portion. I think it's because we've been watching The Last of Us that I'm like, we need a survivalist plan. Like, I want to be Bill from Last of Us. And even if that, like, contextually goes back to, like, aliens, maybe we need to do that.
so the idea with, like, being Bill, like, I like the idea of it. You need so much knowledge of how things work and mechanical and
Yeah.
electrical knowledge.
yeah.
It's not reasonable, especially when electricity is going to go down pretty quick.
Right. I would suspect, going back to, like, an alien thing, it probably, the best thing they could ever do is take down the infrastructure first. That's why they're all scared about Russian spies or Russian cyber hackers, is because if the way the wars will go is if they hack down our infrastructure first, there's no way to deal with that.
They don't even have to hack it down. They can just drop an EMP bomb.
Right.
Like, hack nothing. Just one big EMP and we're screwed. Like,
Right.
and realistically, if there's a big enough solar flare, we're screwed.
Right.
Like, people don't understand how fast the grid will go down.
Right.
And it's terrifying. But there's...
Yeah, and I don't think people who've never experienced like a flashbang or any sort of EMP boom, you don't understand. It's not just the infrastructure. It messes with you personally.
It's disorienting.
Yeah.
Extremely. Having been directly like in front of a flashbang once, it takes a while to recover from that. Like, you legit just go away for a while.
Well, it
Right.
screws up the pressure inside your brain.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay.
It, like,
Yeah.
doesn't it, like, yeah, not only the pressure, but your entire sensory.
Right.
Your sensory,
You just
like,
drop and
matrix
there's
is
no
messed
you. Like in the movies, they show them like staggering around. That's not, you just go down. Boom. You're a potato.
Yeah.
You're a potato bag.
I mean, that's why when they do flash, you're supposed to cover your eyes and ears instantly. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah, because those are the two senses you need the most.
But again, like, if there is some sort of invasion like that and they take down the power, it's going to be bad almost instantly.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not them that's going to be bad, it's us.
Yeah.
It's people looting and rioting and murdering and stealing. And it's
Exactly.
just, it's going to be heinous.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really think, and I know when you watch, like, The Last of Us and The Walking Dead and World War Z and all these movies, like, they kind of underplay. There are looters and rioters and stuff, but I think they really underplay it.
Yeah.
How bad it's going to be.
Well, and the thing is, you know, this is just such a random like a random side note, but evolution-wise, the darkness is the thing that scares us the most as humans. And when you get rid of everything that makes, like, light. Light is something that everybody uses to just function as a normal person. But then you lose light, and then there's no reasonable ability to determine when it's coming back. People are going to lose their shit.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just the light. It's grocery stores have 3 days worth of food in good if there's not trucks coming in. Imagine if everybody... I mean, we ran out of toilet paper and paper towels.
Right.
Because people were just taking it all.
Right.
And there was none to be found for months. Imagine that happens to the food.
Yeah.
I mean, an EMP blast shuts down not just the electrical grid, but also trucks, cars, anything that's not basically a straight gas motor doesn't work anymore. So all your internal food delivery, water deliveries, all that's over.
Yep.
And it's going to take at least months to get it back in line.
If it's fixed.
Yeah, if we're able to get everything
Yeah.
fixed right away. It's worse than I think a lot of scenarios will tell you, because I don't think we can imagine the horror
Yeah.
and deal with it the right way, because it's going to be bad.
Well, we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. Is like in let's say in the sense of something like The Last of Us happens, where it's like like some sort of disease, fungus,
Yeah.
something that turns
Infection.
into infection, turns you into a zombie. That's something you know what you may be fighting against. Yes, you may lose your grid system. You may go into an apocalyptic scenario. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But you know what happened, where it came from, what it did.
You know how to avoid it.
You know how to avoid it. When it's a fucking alien.
When it's a different being from God knows where with God knows what. Not only, again, we look at their technology like compared to ours, like we think of lasers and we think they're so much more advanced, but they may have, again, the elements from wherever they're at that they have to work with may be so foreign to us. Again, if they can control gravity, they basically have a force field around them at all times that can, it can rip you apart. Mm-hmm. If they launch a gravity wave at you, it launches you into space. Like, we can't, there's no way to compete with that.
Fathom. You don't know what to anticipate if it ever happens, which is why I think it's such a scary scenario for any sort of apocalyptic, like, scenario in general, because you don't know what you're dealing with. If you have an unknown factor, you don't know, hey, maybe they don't fight against the grid system. Maybe they just have lasers and they just shoot all of us.
Maybe the gas in their lungs is poison to us, and it's like arsenic in the air. And every time we kill one, 20 of us die. Mm-hmm. It just there's no way to know.
Right. Or yeah, like almost like a Christopher Columbus scenario, where whatever disease they have, they bring to us, kills us off because we don't have an immune system to fight it.
You look at.
Well, that's actually an interesting story.
It's smallpox. That's what happened with the Amazon when the conquistadors came through. They wiped out the Aztec and Maya. Not necessarily on purpose, just because they had no...
And those were cities of millions of people.
Yeah.
Just gone.
In
a generation.
They just had no immunity to it. You look at... Originally in North America, the Pilgrims and all tried to farm along the coast and tried to raise tobacco. The problem was malaria was prevalent, and they all started to die. So they started bringing in East African slaves because they had a malaria tolerance.
Right. And
they
Asian,
didn't die. Yeah.
And Asian people.
They didn't die.
Yeah.
So, and that's, when you go all the way back, that's kind of the original why they started bringing in slaves, was because they survived along these marshy places that these English could not.
It was tobacco, and we tried rice for a quick minute.
Sugar in the Caribbean. And it's just, we brought people in that could survive it because we all died.
Yep.
Like, this is what it is. They just killed off. And, that's, depending on what story you read, what may have happened in, Roanoke. Roanoke.
Roanoke, yeah.
They may have just got sick and died.
Yeah. And the survivors may have just left, and that was it.
Yeah, if there's not enough people to
function as a colony.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
You go inland because it's harsh winter, and after the winter's over, you get the hell out. Like, I'm not dealing with this again with 3 of us.
Right.
And then you fold into some other community, and it's over.
Right.
So, but we don't know. Like, and that's the thing that I think we're underestimating. Like, and even me, like, I have my guns ready. I don't know that guns will hurt them. I just don't know.
Yeah.
I have to assume that if we can shoot down their craft with basically what's a big bullet, we probably can shoot them.
Yeah.
There's this book series that I read, and it was that same premise, that something set off an enormous EMP pulse, and it shut everything down, including guns. And then what it did was it had a field that limited it, so you could never repair it or get back to that, like, inertial force that you needed to power these things back up. It just reset everything back to hunter-gathering.
Yeah.
And you could build cities and whatever, but you couldn't build it with machinery. It was a pretty interesting book.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always think about that too. Like, we've talked about this, I don't know, numerous times, but when the world ends and there are no other people, it takes 200 years for the Earth to reclaim everything.
Yeah, everything.
But the idea that, like, yeah, we survive, but what happens when we don't have the things that we're used to in the 21st century? We go back to the 13th century.
Before that.
Yeah.
13th century, they had pretty established, cities and a separation of workforce. We're way before that.
Yeah, you're right. Thinking
We
about
are literally
Jesus was walking around.
subsistence
Yeah.
survival is what we'll
Yeah.
be at, and it's long before you're going to live out in the open, in the woods, as much as you can, and in buildings when they are available and safe, and
Right.
whatever you can find to
Your
eat,
entire
you're going
day
to eat.
will become about survival.
Yes, and that's it.
Hunting, finding food. That's it.
You're basically a nomadic hunter gatherer because you can't stay in one spot and plant. You can't have crops
Yeah.
because it's too dangerous.
Yeah.
You have to be on the move 20 hours a
and
day.
here's the thing: a lot of it follows exactly how the evolutionary period was. You were hunter gatherers because you couldn't establish yourself, and then finally it was like people started realizing if we lived near water, we could establish together a village with a system that kept people from killing each other. You would have to start all over again. Yeah, maybe if it was immediately after this, after the whole looting and all that stuff. That would be one thing. But then you would have to have people who either remembered the old stories or had somebody who was a leader
And
that
then
people would
then we're
follow.
back to tribal wars.
Exactly.
Whoever's the strongest survives.
Right.
Because you're hunting on my hunting grounds, and we can't have that because we can't both survive.
Right.
So and it's not
we
even,
got to take you out.
It's not even that. I don't think you have set hunting grounds like that for years. I think everybody. I mean, you might group up, but you're nomadic for a while, and you basically just have to kill whoever you come in contact with.
Because you can't trust them.
Well, and here's the thing on top of it. We are going to, if it happened, let's say it happened tomorrow, right? What we're going to have is a big, oh shit kind of reaction because we've been deforesting the population for a lot of animals for years now. You would have to go out into rural areas and find animals unless you wanted to eat pigeon in New York or something to that effect. But it's not like when people first started doing it thousands of years ago when there was an abundance of resources. You now have to move out of these big populous cities to find those resources because they're pretty much gone at this point.
Well, it's not just that. You have to think what people also forget are any of the sick or elderly are done.
Yeah.
That part's over. If you're diabetic and you need insulin, you're dead.
You're dead.
That part's over. There's just no way to get it.
Right.
It really is survival of the fittest.
100%.
And you're sick. Yep. You have cancer.
Sorry
you're done
about your
for.
luck.
Yeah.
Hope it heals itself because
High blood pressure. You better get it under control.
Yeah,
better get
any
some
of that.
elderberry.
any of that stuff.
Yeah, start eating
Yeah.
good because you're
Yeah.
gonna be well. I guess you're gonna be exercising a lot. So
Pretty much. I mean, yes. So anybody with underlying bad medical conditions, it's not great. I mean, there's gonna be massive die-offs, and people forget that part of it. Like any kind of sick kids, any kind of sick older.
Yeah, and if you're unhealthy and you're gonna drop weight very quickly, which is super bad on your heart, you're most likely gonna die. You're not gonna survive that.
Well, I mean, you think 99% of people are gonna die regardless.
Yeah, it's just gonna happen.
Even people that think they're prepared, like me, I'm probably gonna die right away.
Or you might be running, twist your ankle,
Oh yeah.
break a bone, suddenly you're septic and you're dead.
It's not even. Again, you have to think it's not even that bad. If you get a bad scratch.
Yeah,
there's no tetanus.
blood poisoning, you're dead.
Yeah, you get out.
That's
I mean, literally, a scratch can go infection and death.
Now
Yeah.
we know what those things are, but I think the scarier thing is having the knowledge and having no access to it.
Well, that's the thing is I know if I get Neosporin on a cut, I'm fine. The problem is I have no access to Neosporin.
Yeah.
Right.
If I cut myself on a barbed wire, rusty barbed wire, and I
I'm
know,
gonna get lockjaw
I know
and
a
die.
tetanus shot's going to cure me, but there's no refrigerated tetanus vaccines anywhere
It's
anymore.
over.
No.
And even if you learn what plants you can use that are helpful and that have antibiotic qualities, and there's nothing saying that you'll have access to those when this happens. If
Right.
it happens in the middle of winter, sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna die.
Well, and we're all talking about just in the event that an EMP drops. What if it's full on war of the worlds?
Same thing.
Same thing.
It's all the same. That's saying these are all apocalyptic scenarios.
Unless we become cattle and they were moving.
I mean, that's what they did in World of the Wars. I mean, they liquefied us and sprayed us on the ground.
What actually turns out the way to beat them is the power of friendship. And if we all joined together and gave peace a
Which
chance.
would never happen.
That's
because-
exactly it. That's
Although there is, there's a group that actually predicted all of this happening, even down to where the earthquakes were going to hit at this time. And they're like, we have to form a united world, society.
that's what Revelation
I think they're
says
called
is the
United,
world.
right?
I don't know. That's where we're getting into Project Bluebeam stuff. Where,
Yeah.
And if you haven't read about this, Project Bluebeam is, I don't know if it's real or not. It's this idea that 8D holograms are going to basically fake an alien invasion.
Oh.
Yeah, that's going to cause panic and catastrophes, and then it's going to unite us as one world
Yeah.
order. The problem with that is, if you've seen these 8D holograms, they're really cool. They look amazing. Like
They look like Dementors in the sky, and people are seeing those. That's why they think it's Project Bluebeam.
They used them in like the Beijing Olympics opening ceremonies, and it was really interesting.
They used it at the League Worlds.
Yeah.
Make that dragon.
Oh, yeah.
It looks cool. It doesn't look real,
Right.
and if I walk through it, I know it's not real.
Yeah, it's like any, like, I mean, I hate to say illusionary spell. It's not like it's a solid
Well,
thing.
if they fill the sky with 8D really cool looking UFOs, and we shoot a missile at them, and we see the missile on the other side of them, that's the end of the panic.
Yeah, or it doesn't
whatever
come
these
up on
are
your radar.
isn't real.
It's like people try to fly at them and they go through. It's like, I mean, most people we are stupid, but we're not that stupid.
Well, there'll be initial panic, and then once everybody realizes that it's not anything that can actually hurt you, we're done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, Pink Floyd laser show, let's go. Like, that's as long as that lasts.
Yeah.
There will be the initial panic, even if you filled up, I mean, 1 million of them in the sky over America. It wouldn't matter as long as you can shoot them and nothing happens.
Right.
Like, we can see that you go through them, and they're not, a hologram can't do anything to you. So when they're not actually invading and they're not shooting anything and they're just sitting up there, you're like, shoot down whatever's projecting this. Let's move on with life. Like, the end. And that would take a day, and it would be bad for that day. But beyond that, who cares? Like, I don't understand the premise of holograms causing the one world united government. I just don't think it can work.
I could see it in the sense of a small, like, if we were still, like, in a third world country, like, 1800s sort of scenario, I could see that. But we are way too advanced at this point to not be able to deduct, like, that what it is.
Well, there'd be too many people that have, again, drones themselves that
Yeah.
are flying straight through them and
Let's
nothing's
just see what
happening.
happens.
We've got high-powered lasers on
Yeah.
our toys that we can zip right through it.
And that's why I like the Project Bluebeam stuff. I'm like, I get that it's a scary. They're like, it's going to use 5G to project 8D holograms. I'm like, that's a cool show. Then what?
Yeah, are you
Like, I don't understand step 2 of
Are
that.
you gonna like 3D print a laser or something to go with it? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
Holograms can't hold weaponry. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's light. That's cool. Then what? And I don't understand what the people that say Project Bluebeam is going to cause the one world order. I don't understand how. I don't understand the people that don't make that deductive leap to. Okay, we have lights.
You gotta remember, a lot of the people you're talking about also think that flat Earth is real.
That's true.
So, like, even in the abundance of evidence that says we are definitely a cylindrical thing. So you really can't. I mean, A to B does not have to exist for them. It's A to Z that with nothing in between that helps. So I don't know.
I think what's the scary thing that's happened right now is that the center of the Earth has stopped.
Moving. Or
And that-
it's reversed.
That to me is. I mean, I know it happens.
Yeah.
And Africa is splitting in two, and I think that to me is terrifying. And
Yeah.
there's nothing to say that it's not part of that alien invasion.
I'm more concerned with, like, the Yosemite super volcano.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm really like, that or.
The Russian Poseidon ship that I mentioned a couple episodes back.
Yeah, I don't care about that one so much. I'm more worried
Yeah.
about the super volcano in Yellowstone or
Yeah.
a massive coronal ejection that basically sends us
Yeah,
back to the.
and we have seen a small one.
Yeah, we know
Just-
they happen.
Yeah.
Well, there was one that happened in the late 1800s. There wasn't a lot of electricity around, but it all went out. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of domestic stuff.
That's just a natural EMP.
Yeah, that could
pulse.
just happen.
Yeah.
Gone.
I was about to say, there's a lot of natural, like, we're talking about aliens because it's fun to talk about aliens. But in the realistic scheme of things, there's a lot of things that we know, but we can't predict
Yeah.
that can just happen.
Yeah,
because
we know they happen.
We have out
Just
the
a small
environment.
EMP pulse. Think of all the planes falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
Good
Instantly.
luck avoiding that. Like,
Yeah, that's
especially in the airport path that we're in.
yeah, my luck, I've already had 2 crash within 200 yards of my house.
Yeah.
Why not the third one?
We were watching
Jesus.
Station 11, and all you just see is this airplane go by one of the like skyscrapers flying. I'm like, and then of course, Last of Us.
Yeah, on the ground.
Oh God, I fucking hate airplanes crashing.
But no, like, even helicopters, airplanes, cars, there's going to be a lot of instant, really bad things that happen. I mean, right away. And if they have that ability, if they understand, hey, if these aliens or whatever understand that EMP can do that. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have, again,
that technology.
Well, maybe their understanding of the universe is so vastly different from ours because of what they have access to.
Right.
So they may not understand that we're putting old dinosaurs into cars to make them go. Like, they may have...
And it's true. On the flip side, they could come here and be like, what the fuck do you guys have? Like,
how are these monkeys in the air?
Yeah, like what is this?
What did this happen?
Yeah, like it could be that they don't understand any of that. We may be more technologically advanced in like domestic stuff, but maybe they're just aeronautically more advanced than us.
Well, and it's not even, and I try to explain this like to people. It's not. I don't think it's necessarily a more advanced. It's access to different materials.
Different. It's exactly.
They may have whatever Bob Lazar said, element 115 or whatever, that basically creates a gravitational wave that you are able to control. That may have been, just completely prevalent on their planet. So from their first, dark ages, they understood, hey, we can fly around. Super easy. Put this rock in this thing and you go. And it's controllable. Like, to us, it may have been like the steam engine. Like, hey, if you get water super hot, it moves this rotor and we're good to go. Like, again, it may not be more advanced. It may be just a different kind of advancement that we just don't have access to.
Right. It's just, it's so weird to me that this is such a prevalent thing right now because it's been so long. And we're all young, but it's this idea that anybody who was ever into the UFOs was like, okay, you're just super crazy. But now it's just such a,
it was me.
It's just a mainstream thing now. It's like we know it exists. We know there is no explanation to me that you can give me that says that in the expanses of the universes that exist in everywhere, there is not intelligent life out there. It's just not possible. It's just not something you can explain away.
Well, and then NASA just last week came out and said they found evidence in one of, I think it was Venus's moon's atmospheres that show that there is some sort of life there.
Yeah.
There's some sort of chemical trace of whatever life
under
emits.
all the gases, something's living there.
So we have UFOs, NASA coming out saying there's some kind of life there, and no one, like, I posted on Facebook as soon as I saw the first UFO over Alaska that they shot down, and no one was talking about it. I'm like, how is everyone not freaking the fuck out right now? Because this is insanity to me, who I grew up loving UFOs. Like, it's been really cool.
Mm-hmm. You even have a sign behind you that has a UFO on it.
But no one else was talking about it. And I had people message me like, what are you talking about? What UFO? I'm like, fucking read the news.
It's in the news. It's not even like you have to go to like deep dive a Google article to find it. You can look at Fox News, CNN, any major news network that you or just talk like, hey, some identified object shot down in Alaska. By the way, the government won't tell us what it is.
Well, I think, and that's part of the problem now, is people distrust major news outlets to the point of where they're getting their news from TikTok. Like, they trust TikTok more than the news outlets. And we know TikTok is a Chinese company that is basically just using facial recognition to build algorithms. That's what it is. That's fine. But you shouldn't trust that more than... It sucks, because there are no bipartisan news outlets anymore in America. Like, I like The Guardian because they don't seem to give a shit. They just post what happened and move on with life.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, generally I look at NPR, which is a little bit more left-leaning, but
they're not bad.
They're not. It's more like middle left, if anything. But at least they post like, here's what's happened.
Yeah.
There may be some people that say they don't like it. There's some people that say they like it. There it is.
And if they screw up a story, they will go on air and apologize, which I love. CNN, MSNBC, Fox.
Double down.
They lean into it real hard.
Yeah. Vaporeon is a breedable breed. The most breedable of Pokemon.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Tucker Carlson said that. Like, who thinks of this shit?
But no, like, and I think that's also part of the problem is we don't trust CNN, we don't trust MSNBC, we don't trust Fox, because they like to take stories and spin them towards whatever end they want, instead of, there was a UFO and we shot it down, the end. Like, that's the whole story that they can say.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that correlates a lot.
But they have like 4 hours of people talking and sharing their opinions.
Yeah. They'll have some guy on Fox News being like, well, Russia's invading. And it's like, they're kind of busy right now. Probably not invading us with UFOs.
Well, I was about to say, this correlates really hard to the fact that we have a 24 hours media news outlet at all times now.
That's like the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, because now they just have to fill time.
All that time.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, the news came on at 7. It
Yep.
came on at noon, and it came on at 5. And if you missed it, see you fucking tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. And then they were
end.
like, oh, the early news at 5, but you can catch us again at 6 or 7. And it's like, okay. And then it was like, you know what? 24 hours.
Yep,
news,
it just
baby.
started going.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, if you missed it at 7, we'll be back at noon.
Mm-hmm.
If you missed it at noon, we'll see you at 5. And if you missed it at 5, go
Hope you
fuck
got a
yourself.
newspaper.
See you tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be back on the air at 7 o'clock tomorrow.
Well, I was about to say, and like now, I mean, it's really one of those things where you should honestly look on the internet. I hate to say that, but that's really where you're going to get the most unbiased news, because they're not like trying to, well, they are trying to perpetrate it, but
Yeah.
you don't have to spend 24 hours trying to like fill airtime talking about why, you know, aliens may want to like a MAGA hat for Donald Trump because
Yeah.
they vote for them or whatever, you know, something.
Aliens are turning the frogs gay.
Oh my God.
Like, it's just, and again, I get into that with like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and all these people that are just. I have to explain this to my wife because she gets irate about it. I'm like, they are literally paid money
Yeah.
to be extreme about crazy shit. That's their job. That doesn't mean they necessarily believe it. It means they're getting paid to say
Yeah.
it. If you paid me the kind of money Tucker Carlson's making, I would come out as anti whatever the fuck you paid me to be anti. I hate gays and
It's like wrestling.
everybody, whoever. I don't
was
give a
say-
shit.
I was about to say you can equivalate it. I've talked to my parents about this because, you know, the word of God comes through Fox News, but like, or to my mom at least. But I've told them it's like the equivalent of wrestling. Like, these are paid people.
Yeah.
And instead
Someone
of like,
needs to be the heel.
yeah, instead of somebody elbowing somebody and drop kicking them with a chair, what they're doing is just saying shit that is being perpetrated by whatever news outlet they
Well,
work
they
for.
want you to keep your eyes glued to it so they can sell commercial airtime.
Yep.
It's really simple. It just sucks that people. Again, I don't know Tucker Carlson. He may be a nice guy in private to his family and stuff. He may be a dick. I don't know. I know he gets paid to say outrageous shit.
Yeah.
I know Alex Jones gets paid to say outrageous shit. I know Alex Jones started off as basically a real reporter. Like, he legit was trying to bust down Washington and
Yeah.
all that
He
shit.
was, yeah. Then
And
it's like,
people
how
start-
did you go from there to there? Money.
People started paying him to say crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say the craziest shit in the world for $1 million an episode. I don't care. I literally don't believe any of it. I will say it to your
Yeah.
face and act like I
Because
do.
that's my job.
Yes.
And you paid me to do my job, which is this.
And you're basically watching actors and taking them seriously. And it hurts because they are public figures
Right.
that
But these-
people take seriously.
They're not Walter Cronkites, people.
Walter Cronkite doesn't
He-
exist anymore.
No. That level of
here.
news, no. He just reported the news, and every once in a while he'd get upset about something.
Yeah.
It really, like, there was a show way back in the day, and I don't know if anybody really remember. It's not way back, probably 10 years ago, a little bit more than that, called The Newsroom.
Yeah.
And I loved that show because the guy was like, he was a Republican. He was like, but I want to report the real news. I don't want to report things that don't have, like, things that would just give us radio, like, or revenue or whatever. And it was such an eye-opening thing because as we've gotten older, we see that. We see that people are just paid to say whatever.
Yeah.
And what that will do is create a distrust in the news outlets on both sides.
And remember the opening sequence of that show where he's explaining how the U.S. is not number one in the world
Yes.
in any fucking thing, and we're
Yeah.
actually some of the worst.
Yeah.
And everybody was so shocked and agog. Like
Well, because
people
no one
watching
pays
it.
attention.
Yeah, and it's like, why would you think we were number one in the world? Because you've been told that your whole life.
Right.
But you never educated yourself to realize that we're not.
Right. And that show came out, I think, about a few years after out of 9/11. So that, like, patriotism was
Yeah.
still kind of
It was
in.
like 07, 08.
Yeah.
maybe.
So, like, the patriotism
Yeah.
was still there, but we were kind of reaching that, like,
Yeah.
Place
We
of
do come in number one in two things: incarcerations
And
and
the
work-life
military.
balance.
And
Military, but
It was number of Americans incarcerated and a number of adults who believe in angels. That was the two things. But no, like, even then,
America.
we just don't have that. And again, people trust TikTok more because most of the time it's some guy on their phone filming something that just happened. You do get the people that are faking shit. It's
Yeah.
the world. People are going to fake stuff for views and likes, and they
Yeah.
need that dopamine release. And I get it.
But you can put in that search engine, Dementor over Michigan, and you'll find
Shows up.
50 of them.
Yep.
And by the way, what the fuck was that? Like,
Well, it happened in Australia too, and people were saying it's some kind of weird cloud formation that happens every so often, like super rare. But I'm like, it's showing up in like 19 different places today.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real odd.
And it's like a Dementor octopus thingy. What,
But then you got
and
to
it's not the first time these things have been seen.
But the thing is, like, at the same time, if we're having such weird weather patterns and then the Earth is, like, reversing its center core and stuff like that, maybe things are just changing.
Y'all know what I think.
Oh.
I think the infrastructure for the simulated world is going down. They're injecting antivirus software to help us.
Oh, if you also want to see something cool, there's a
It could be.
dead bird floating in the air. Did you
yes.
see that?
Oh my God.
They're like filming it from like as they drive past it, like, and it's just dead, not moving.
It's like a lag in a game.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
I'm thinking. I'm
really
like,
cool.
this is just real life fucking lag.
That would suck, though. Like, why was my, like, simulated life being a fat, ugly girl? Like, why couldn't I have ended up being, like a best-selling, like, author who had, like, who was 120 pounds and could eat whatever I want? That's kind of lame.
You can. It's a simulation. Do whatever the fuck
It's
you
a
want.
simulation. You really could, if we think hard enough, we could change it. You're gonna poop yourself.
I probably
Like,
will.
stop
Never
straining
mind.
that hard.
But yeah, it's been, and again, you can go back and you'll watch some of the videos, even on TikTok or when you Google UFOs, blah, 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 like over Mexico, you'll see videos from the ones in the 90s and the early 2000s because people are just lumping them all in together right now for views. Like, I get it. You have to be pretty specific in what you search for to make sure that you're getting what recently happened.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, people will post fake things. There's videos of basically what look like the signs aliens from the dude in Australia.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's like, guys, I get what you're doing. It's not helpful.
No.
But again, nothing else is. So whatever.
Right.
Go ham,
Live
guy.
your best life. So, I don't know. I think it's funny because it's such... 2023 has been a weird year as it had, like, already.
Is it the end of the year yet? Have we done? Because this has
No.
gone forever.
Yeah, like, this has been the longest...
Oh, it's almost the end of February? Cool.
I know. It feels like... I
Yeah.
said this week, it felt like we had 3 Mondays in a row.
2023 said, "Hold my beer and my barbecue."
Yeah,
like,
it's like you
he's
thought
been-
2020 was fun. Wait to see what happens in this one. We're
Right.
talking a whole different
All
ballpark.
the people who died in January and continue to die.
Well, you got the train wreck.
Just strange.
Well, you have
Now
what,
that's the biggest.
Palestine, Ohio,
Yeah.
South
Yeah.
Carolina, Louisiana, Texas. There's all these weird train wrecks that are going on that no one's talking
Which,
about.
by the way, a couple of years ago, all these points were identified as if these bodies of water are polluted with chemicals, this is what would happen. And suddenly, all 4 of them. It's
and
just
mysteriously,
strange.
those people that handled like ensuring that these protections would not happen on these railways were fired
well, of course.
or gone because we were trying to save money and it hasn't happened.
And
hey,
now
guess what?
here we are.
Well, here, you know what? Titanic said the same thing. We don't need that many lifeboats because we've never had a disaster like this, and then it happens. Like, you really should prepare.
And
for
and again,
anything.
we're not freaking out because we don't live near any of the places where those catastrophes are. But again, I don't know the long-term effects of is it hexafluoride in the Palestinian water that's
Yeah.
leaking into the
Yeah.
Mississippi and Ohio. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that
No,
means
I mean, a
10
lot
years
of-
from now.
Think about it. Most
Yeah.
people in Chernobyl only thought that the impact site was going to be the problem, and then people were like, "Oh fuck,
We gotta
the
get out.
radiation's
We
going
have
to kill us all."
17 eyes.
Yeah,
Or like
this is
that lady
problematic.
on TikTok, and I know we keep talking about TikTok, which people are probably gonna be like, "Oh my god, they're talking about TikTok."
But it is a
but
huge-
it is a real person making a cup of coffee, and she puts her milk in, and it's what the fuck is in your coffee?
Well, it's supposedly from the drinking water.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
she did it with bottled water,
and
and
it
was
didn't
like,
happen.
"This is how this would normally look. Here's what happens when I do it with my water from my sink."
Yeah, and it's
And
got
Brita
the
can't
flake.
do much.
It's like the water's fine, and you just see dead fish and rainbow. You know,
Well, there are videos of
water.
people going to the creeks outside Palestine and like kicking the side where the chemicals have settled.
Yeah.
And it's just like a film over the water when they disturb the dirt.
Yeah.
And it's
like
like,
when you
dude, what
see
the
oil
fuck?
on water.
Yeah.
That's in that rainbow sheen. If you've ever like changed your oil and gotten a water puddle.
Or been outside in a parking lot when it's rained.
Yeah,
Like, it's
it's
everywhere.
that sheen.
In their water. Like, it's really, it's bad. And the EPA is, the Norfolk Southern EPA, they're all playing it down. And it is, I'm glad I don't live there.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Me too.
I'm glad I have a well
they
at my
ju-
house.
I have
the
a
house-
feeling that these are going to be ghost towns.
They're going to
soon.
have to be.
Yeah,
I think all these people are going to get sick and die.
yeah.
Well, if you look at it, I think they just recently, the big mushroom cloud from the Palestine
Fire.
fire is now dissipating. It's been weeks.
Well, that's so I
And
saw.
what chemicals were in that fire that
It's-
are now in the air?
It's supposedly like hexafluoride, something it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell you if you
Why
get
the
into
fuck are you
the
taking it by
septo and
train?
hexos, this is bad.
But it was so I saw a video yesterday that showed the train on fire an hour and a half before I guess Norfolk Southern EPA said it was on fire. Which I don't know if an hour and a half matters in the grand scheme of this shit. I just know somebody's lying somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
And then they set the shit on fire in one of the places purposefully.
it was Palestine because it was
Yeah.
better to burn it off
Yeah.
than let it soak into the ground. I'm like, well, now it's airborne.
Yeah.
Like, this is a terrible plan.
Just another
Mm-hmm.
Chernobyl, but with different chemical. I mean, with
So,
chemicals instead of radiation.
It may be long-term worse than Chernobyl because Chernobyl it wasn't like a nuclear reactor blast.
Right.
It was a water leak that
Mm-hmm.
affected the area around Chernobyl. This may affect everything up and down the center of America once
yeah.
it leaks into the Mississippi.
And whatever
Like,
Yeah.
airborne particles, I mean, they talking about like a super volcano in the sense you could almost have something similar to that, where like what particles are in the air just travel to wherever it goes. Once it disperses to wherever, it could affect
everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
You're talking about food sources. Like, but think of the Mississippi
Think
Delta,
about-
how rich and fertile it is.
The rain, what
Yeah,
comes
it's-
down, what
Yeah,
chemicals
we're
are in
probably
the
going
rain.
to see acid rain soon,
Yeah.
I would think. Crazy.
Oh man, I hate being an adult.
I
knowing
remember
stuff.
Maybe the aliens should come back. Like, my God.
Maybe they,
Enslave us and
maybe
save
they
us.
were like, you know what? They've really fucked it up at this point. We
Yeah.
need to reset the button.
Enslave and save.
So-
you know what? I could be their PR person
Yeah.
with their mottos.
I look at it like if they are coming back or they are here, there's either two reasons. Either one, they're trying to make sure we don't kill ourselves with Russia and nuclear war, basically.
Because remember the TV thing back in like the 80s where he's like, we're giving you an amount of time and then we're
Yeah.
coming back to stop you.
So I think it's either
Oh yeah, the Earth stood still.
I think either life itself is so rare and precious and it does exist, but it doesn't exist. There's not a lot of it. I think they're either trying to keep all of us alive
Yeah.
or they know we have the ability to leave here and fuck a bunch of stuff up and they're trying to wipe us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
It's
could-
one of the two.
And here's the thing: we could just be a specimens experiment to see what happens.
And
when
now
you put a
that
bunch
we've
of life
sent the
forms
long
together.
range telescopes and the Mars rovers, they're probably like, we cannot let this virus get
So,
off.
If you think about
Get
it,
off
like
this
even
world.
with that, like that's long range for us. But in even our solar system, it's not. It's like going to the store. Like it's
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
we're
it's.
kind of still confined to our own
Well, that's the
area.
technology we know about. We don't know if when they discovered like Higgs boson and quantum entanglement, if we're able to basically use portals and jump to other places. I mean, I don't know. I know technically with quantum entanglement, that's possible.
Well, and one of my favorite theories too is that maybe it isn't aliens that we're dealing with at this point. Maybe we are just dealing with time
Or
travelers.
maybe we're dealing with ourselves.
yeah, people
Like,
who-
fucking go back because they're going to do some shit here soon.
yeah, because it's like 300 years in the future, what you did has fucked us all up. We're trying to fix it now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I think about that, but like, if it's that disastrous that whatever we're doing can affect the future that much, would they be able to develop the technology to come back here? Like,
Oh, that's a good point.
if we do have nuclear winter or whatever, it's gonna be a lot longer than 300 years before we're able to create ships that can travel in time.
Well, and
Or maybe, like, from this point on, so say we did, like, screw up all the rivers here, and then they have a set amount of time to make this technology to come back to stop us.
Well, the good news is with global warming,
Kind of like that Chris Pratt movie.
yeah.
we have all this free glacial water that's melting. That's
Oh
clear.
yeah. See,
Oh, well, see?
Balance.
I mean, all that's gonna do is
And all
just,
the viruses coming back, maybe they're helpful.
and the kaiju that probably were frozen under the ice sheets.
You know,
Ross-
for the last year, maybe year and a half, I've been having these really,
Apocalyptic.
thank you.
Apocalyptic. Do you like a potassium latte?
Yeah, apocalyptic dreams. And it's always the same dream. It's either, walking outside and there's a ship and it's an invasion force, yada, 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 and trying to survive that. And then sometimes that's mixed with enormous kaijus that have woken up from the earth. And then they're really unhappy. And I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just saying that in 2020, when we did our New Year's predictions.
The apocalypse and chill.
I did predict a lot of that stuff, so I'm a little concerned for myself.
You know they're cloning a mammoth right now.
Yeah, I know.
And a T-Rex.
Fucking ballin'.
Let's go Jurassic
And a
Park.
freaking T-Rex.
All right, let me ask this though. Would you
I'd
rather
pet it.
die via The Last of Us, an alien invasion, or a kaiju invasion from subterranean ice sheets?
I don't have preference from any of that. I just want to go down fighting.
Yeah. Alien. I told Casey, I'm like, Lord, if you're going to kill me, or I told my wife, if you're going to kill me, let me kill one of them sons of bitches first.
Yeah.
Let me just get one.
Yeah.
Or at least
And I'll be okay.
Just go down fighting, whatever
or
it
at least
is.
give you the Sasquatch. Give you the one Sasquatch so you have it.
Yeah, but I want to eat him.
Yeah,
so
the
I don't think that's
Sasquatch is
helpful.
going to be their on-the-ground army. They're already, here preparing.
What if they are the observers or the Sasquatch?
Well, that's... Becky, what have we talked about all these years?
A lot of weird shit.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, they're just Gigantopithecus. Same
Remember when
thing.
we started this podcast as a gaming podcast?
This is gaming.
Same thing with
You just mentioned The Last of Us.
Oh,
It's
and the
gaming.
virtual reality.
See?
The anthropologists are now searching for Homo florenzius over in.
Is that a gay doctor?
No, it's the little Hobbit people
Oh, yeah.
that apparently are not all extinct.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were talking about that the other day in Valorant, where
They're-
they actually still
And
do
they've had
exist.
videos for years of these people,
Yeah.
popping out of, tall brush. And they're like...
I think that's your brother.
Yeah, drop something
He was
heavy.
doing weights.
And they're like, oh, yeah, what the fuck is that?
But yeah, apparently some of these tribes, and I think it's not Portugal.
Argentina?
No, above Australia and the island
New
chains
Zealand?
up
New
there.
Zealand?
New Zealand and those?
Papua New Guinea and all those
Yeah,
little
yeah.
island chains. Apparently, the Homo florenzius is apparently still alive.
Yeah,
and they
because
thought
we
they-
know that... It's a lot of people don't know that pygmy have very little DNA in common with us.
Yeah.
They're completely different. It's like finding the Neanderthals. And then here we are with, these new species of humans.
Well, it's not even new. We thought they went extinct 50,000 years
Yeah.
ago, and they've just been fucking hanging out in the woods.
Yeah, good luck
Hey.
finding us.
And apparently, there's other tribes in the area that know they're there. They don't like each other, so they just stay
Yeah.
away from each other.
Right.
And it's like,
That'd be like
if
them
you
saying
told me there was a tribe of munchkins living in the woods behind my house, I'm
Or
going to
those-
fuck with them.
those big-eyed people up in...
moon-eyed people.
Yeah, the moon...
Yeah.
Or just find out, hey, they did find more moon-eyed people. I mean, we'd have to go camping right away to see if we can find them.
I still want to go back camping anyways.
Let's do it. Because now I want to go find them now that I'm healthy.
But no, it's just it's really
Much healthier.
it's interesting that and again, I look at I don't think Bigfoot is the ground troops of the UFOs. I think they're basically like the Homo florenzians that we Gigantopithecus we thought was gone, and they're just their numbers are
Yeah.
either so small or they live in places that where they really live are so pain in the ass to get to.
Yeah. We'd leave them alone. Like that island of people.
Yeah,
Leave
well,
them
there's
alone.
there's a place in Idaho, I think it's called Hell's Canyon, that people go camping in, that there is zero human pollution. But you have to hike in for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass to get there. And people only go there because it is so out there and it's beautiful and there's a waterfall and it's really cool. Now imagine 2 more weeks of hiking to get in the middle of the woods to find where one Bigfoot lives in a 200 square mile area.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're never going to find this fucker if you don't want
no,
you to find him.
Exactly.
I mean, I look at it like black cats here, the big Florida Panthers or whatever. We know they're here, and they're local to us.
You never see them.
I know where 2 live because I tracked them, and apparently one just showed up in really close to where I live
Yeah.
on someone's trail
on
cam.
trail cam.
And it's okay, these things are around, but no one ever sees them.
And they don't bother you. And I'm telling people, just don't fucking go hunt it.
The only time anybody ever sees them is on trail cam,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is how
Because they don't come close. They're not eating your cats and your dogs.
No, they're
Just
eating
leave 'em
rabbits and
alone.
fox.
Yeah.
And that's how we tracked one of them. Was it showed up on 2 separate trail cams walking, and we knew the direction it was going. Mm-hmm. So we were able to go kind of where it was, and we found the den ish. Left it alone. I'm like, okay,
Yep, that's
we're
it.
in bumfuck nowhere in the middle of the woods
And honestly, she probably smelled you and was like, I better move my den.
for miles.
Yeah.
She probably knew we were coming.
Yeah.
Cool with that. And again, they're around. No one sees them. You see them
Mm-hmm.
on trail cameras at night. So imagine there's even smaller population of hominids
Yeah.
in an even more vast, wide open area where there are no trail
Mm-hmm.
cams.
And one of their big purposes is do not be seen.
Yeah, avoid-
You're not going to see them.
You're just not. I mean,
Well,
Well, we'll continue these conversations. Let us know if you want us to go into in-depth and have
This is
uneducated opinions on more stuff.
Listen, here's
That's
the
me.
thing. Here's the thing.
I love this stuff.
I love this stuff. And honestly, at this point, what else is there to talk about? There's nothing good happening other than, like, I don't know. Hogwarts Legacy came out. That caused a stir
We've already
itself.
talked about all this.
Valorant sucks right now.
Yeah.
The cheating.
Leaked source code.
Um,
I can't stop it.
what else is going on? Just bad things?
Stuff.
I mean, it's always bad.
We all know what time it is for me.
Poopy time?
It's poop time.
That's when we know to end the podcast, is when it's poopy time.
It's my regularly scheduled poop time.
Wahoo!
Angela needs to go take her constitutional.
My daily bathroom constitutional.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.